Hey everyone, this is Ryan B with Practical Forex Trading. This is your weekly analysis for the Aussie versus the US dollar, so Australian versus US. The date is Sunday, May 3rd, 2020. It's 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time here in the States. So, my overall sentiment for the Aussie dollar is bearish. So, the US dollar is still going strong with stops above the 66-cent line. So, what I mean by stops above is if at this point I saw price action the next few days stay above this fast moving average and work its way to start pushing above the 66-cent mark, then my sentiment would be reversed. Right now I'm bearish for a few reasons, but the most recent being is that if we think about this price zone here, about the 64.70 to 65-cent mark, we see that price was really recently rejected from this recent rally. So it was tested here. This offered a support here, right, back in February. Support again through a few days in March. Prices moved back below it. Recently tested it, moved away. Recently tested again, then we're moved back down. So now, if this really short-term kick up, lasts, but right now I don't see a good reason why the U.S. dollar would experience a big sell-off. When we think about trend lines too, the short-term trend at some point always yields to the large-term trend. So let's go ahead and look at this from a trend line perspective. Here we can see the top of the channel at 80 cents. This goes back to 2018. Looks like a triple top here. Then prices moved away. So if we were to just simply draw a trend line here, connecting our tops, and notice I don't connect this ultimate top because I'm really thinking about a trend channel. So when I move the trend line here, I can see that the trend touched the bottom of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 6. Then you can see how it rode above it, then it rode above it, then fell back below, really representing that support and resistance channel over time. Also, offering more resistance here, right about the 66, 80, 67 mark. We see this was significant support for a long time. Then price fell through, there was a rally, couldn't move above it, fell even further, couldn't move above it, couldn't move above it. So these are all very bearish. In the short term, yes, we're moving above the daily average, but I'll still banking in the bear game. So let's go ahead, let me pull up the Australian pivot points, and we can get going on mapping those out. Okay, 64.56, I'm going to zoom into my 4-hour for this. All right, I'm going to get rid of this volume. So 64.56 is the pivot point, and we see prices moving right below that right now. Actually, let's go ahead and keep this line. We can just drag this down, and that can be our pivot. 64.56. Okay. Now, right above that, R1, we have 65.33. So right here, right near this recent top, 65.33. Let's go ahead. R2, 66.47. So here's this other line. It was actually right there, that recent high, 66.47. We can go ahead and make that one R2. Whenever you see support and resistance, super lines, like multiple weekly lines super close to each other, it just means there's a lot of support and or resistance in the very short range. So what this tells me here is there's lots of sell orders, right, waiting for the next kickback to this level. Maybe it won't make it, maybe it'll kind of weave around here, but when there's this much resistance, it just tells me any rally is going to be short-lived. But let's go ahead and look at this 4-hour trend and see how valid it is. I mean, this is still a valid uptrend. If we think about the 4-hour, if price stays here, right, so here's what we might see happen is that if we look at the calendar this week, it might go sideways and come up and then approach the 65.33 level again. If so, then maybe we're looking at next Sunday for our entry point. So just remember, you want to get in at the best entry point possible, because that's the quicker your position moves into the green, right, as opposed to the red. And then you want to hold that as long as you can, right? Let your profits run. Keep those losses short. S1 63.42. So that's our first support right there. This one. So one scenario that could happen is that price could continue down to the first support, and then work its way back up to the pivot. We saw on the euro and the pound versus the dollar that looks like this week's a set up for potential range trading. So sideways, right? Things moving sideways, and that looks like it could be happening on the Australian dollar as well. Nothing wrong with that. Just remember that big moves are less likely to happen in a range trade. 62, 65. So you just got to keep your expectations within the confines of the technical analysis and how long it might take to pan out. You might be bullish in the short trend, but it might take a few weeks to pop out of there. So you pick a direction, a position, and then you have to stick with it, and then have your stop set to know when you're out. And you want a computer to make that decision for you, because oftentimes at the moment of truth, we as humans fail to stop the misery, if you will. Okay. S1 at 63.42, S2 at 62.65. If these both two are broken, we would see prices return to the 61-cent mark, or 0.6075. All right, everyone, have a great week. I hope you make lots of profit trading.